tough energy when it came to her relationships. When you're Khloe Kardashian and you have such amazing events that happen that are not like you would see in a usual relationship, where her past husband was found in a brothel. She had to put him into rehab. I mean, it was almost kind of like a Ben Affleck type of thing. Not that he was found in a brothel, but just a really shocking scenario to find your husband in. And then, if that wasn't shocking enough, she's finally healed from being in this relationship with Lamar Odom, who's a famous basketball player. And she gets into a relationship with Tristan Thompson, who is quite a handsome guy. And he has a baby with someone else while they were planning to have a child together. She has 2 children by him now. Just complete shocks for her. Shawnee, you love Khloe. A lot of people love Khloe. She just started a podcast, and I think she's going to be really good. She's very, very funny, witty. I like her. And she has a very big jeans company, The Good American. Here's her birth chart. This is, I put Lamar here because Lamar is going to be represented by the 7th house and the 7th house lord. Of course, he's a king because of the sun. It represents Leo. Leo is the king. It's right on Regulus, and Regulus represents kings and royalty. So when you see that in somebody's chart, it's like, ooh, lucky you. This guy is going to be like very dynamic, probably. So we're going to look at the sun, which is the ruler of the 7th house. And there are a lot of really nice things with this kite, yet there are oppositions here. There's an opposition with Neptune, which can show a big narcissist, can show addiction problems, being tempted because of, you could see that grand trine here. What does that mean? Well, it means that for a time in his life, he would be very, very successful, leading a dream life, extremely famous. What's really interesting about all of this Cancer in here is that it almost seems as if there's some kind of intuition that he has. He must have some kind of innate ability. And for Khloe too, because you see the sun represents her 7th house lord, the partner, but also this is Khloe's energy as well. Lots and lots of intuitive feelings, but also keeping in mind that Cancer is women, and women who they're very voluptuous. So Venus and Mercury is groups of women and disappearing with them, which would be Neptune. So it's really not very good. Now you would look at Tristan as the 9th house lord, and that of course would be Pluto. Pluto, however, is retrograde. It's not so good. Now, it is bolstered by the fact that there's this, it's not a full grand trine, but there's some really nice trines aimed at him. Of course, Pluto being in Libra is going to show that this person is going to be pretty attractive. But who's he attractive to? All of these women here. And, there'd be a lot. So, and he would like them. So you can see, and sometimes famous women because of the Cancer. Cancer can show fame. That's the problem with Tristan, and especially with the 9th house being in Scorpio. This is somebody, remember, Scorpio represents pregnancy. And also, let's see here. The 5th house from the 9th would be Tristan's, love life. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uranus would rule that. And look at that. Oof. Uranus and an opposition to Chiron. So the lover house is going to bring him down, and it would hurt him too quite a bit. Hurt him and hurt everybody. Hurt the family. Lots of pain there. So anyway, I'm going to go on to the solar arc, which I think is really interesting. This is 2016 when they first hook up, Khloe and Tristan. And good Lord, look at Jupiter that rules the husband or partner. You can do this for anybody. It doesn't mean it's the first husband, the second husband, or whatever. It's just going to be the partner. And you can see the opposition here. And it's just a complete shock with Chiron at the bottom of this. Not only Chiron, but with the North Node next to Chiron, this is like enhanced. This is times 10. So lots and lots of wounds. And it's aimed at Venus. So it's weird too, because Mercury represents a twin. I believe he was caught with, I think he was caught a couple of times, but it was more of a sexual thing with him, and caught with Kylie Jenner's best friend. So it was just a complete drama. It's At this point, it's in this T-square. Remember that solar arcs, they go very, very, very slow. So this is just with Aries at the bottom of this. This is inflamed. Like, how could you do something like that? Uranus right up here. This is partner shocks. Interesting too that it's in Capricorn, which would show, somebody who has Capricornian types of features, dark features. And in general, you can see there's a sextile to part of fortune, which is someone very successful. So what's interesting for Khloe is her rising sign. The rule of her chart is Uranus. And Uranus is right at the top here. And at this point, okay, it's trining a little kid. This is a family. She wants a family with him. She doesn't care. And so she goes ahead with, having a relationship with him, but she does break it off. And really, really tough there with Saturn and Mars there, conjunct her rising sign. This is someone who is very sad, very, not knowing what to do, kind of stuck and mad. So she had some, right around the time that she was meeting him, getting to know him, it was looking like things were going to be either delayed, or she wasn't going to be too happy about that. Now, as they continued their relationship, this little group of planets are going to move this way. And Pluto, the planet of pregnancy, starts to move towards her rising sign of Uranus. So this is a surprise pregnancy. And I'm sure at the time, if she was to see something like that, she'd be like, oh, I'm planning all my pregnancies, but that's not the one that would have been the surprise. It was the one that Tristan had with another girl, another lady. Okay, and this is Khloe's 2009 solar arc. So you can see that Uranus really hasn't, hard to believe because it was shocking enough that year. That's the year that I think she was getting married to him. So it really didn't hit the fan until Uranus moved a little bit more in her chart, but Uranus was starting to oppose there. So for the longest time, and this is really the bottom line, this is the point I'm trying to make, is that she had Uranus in an unfortunate transit going over Jupiter, which would mean complete shocks. Like, you couldn't even make it up. You couldn't even write fiction, and the universe will do it for you. So that's what happened with her. Now, Jupiter with Neptune can show a narcissist. It can show someone with addiction problems. So you've got that retrograde, still doesn't really help. It only hurts, and just a lot of temptation there. The thing too with Neptune is sometimes you can idealize the person. You think this person is so great because he has all of the outer accoutrement, the basketball uniform, the friends, the fame, all of the stuff. But really inside, you are talking about having to live with an addict who shocks you. So, yeah, yikes. Hitting her Jupiter, yeah. That's right. He lost his mom. Now he takes care of his brother who has MS. Yes. So lots of stuff that he has to go through. which would be part of that Uranus. Yeah, I think part of her healing has been therapy, astrology, and metaphysical, definitely. As a Scorpio lady, um, let's see, she's got Saturn in Scorpio, and she's got Mars in Scorpio. And she's a sun in Cancer. Interesting. Now, what's interesting about her chart too is if you want to look at a chart real simple and see what your life is going to be like when you're older. Like, so when she's younger, you're going to be Venus in Cancer. You can't really see that. Hold on. So Venus in Cancer, this is her right now. And she's opposing Jupiter. You see that? So up until she is maybe 45, 50, she's still going to be in this kind of, this feeling of an opposition. Maybe even feeling cold, like I'm not doing that anymore. Well, her feeling is going to change once she turns maybe 45, 50, and then she turns to Saturn, and that's going to be in Scorpio. That'll be very interesting. Let's see. 5. Mars is right next to her. This could be a man. But here's the most important point is she's out of that opposition with Jupiter. There's going to be no more big shocks with these next few years and further down the road. We're still going to look at the sun for a partner, and we'll look at Jupiter as well. So you could look at both of them. And you're still going to keep an eye on the transits as well, because it's not going to be perfect. But it's pretty interesting. It looks as if in Scorpio, she could be a detective. She's definitely diving deep into psychological discussions, thought. She might even write a book because that stellium it's in the 8th house. Pluto rules her 9th house. I don't know, maybe she already published a book. And also there's something about pregnancy too. She already has 2, but she might be talking about pregnancy again. I don't know. That's not for a little while. She's still Venus, but she's slowly moving over to Saturn, and that is going to be good. I mean, everybody always assumes that when they get to a certain age, things are going to be terrible. I talk to people all the time who are so glad to be out of their Venus period. Unfortunately, when you're young and you've got the energy, potentially exciting things planned with people, and then you've got to put up with something like this, it is exhausting. So finally, when you get a little bit older and you hit the Saturn part of your chart, I think that's going to be the case for Khloe. Even though Saturn is retrograde, I think it's still going to be better. She went out to watch UFOs on one of the episodes. She's a believer. Oh yes. She's very special and gifted. She should be the new Dr. Phil. Her university really is dealing with trauma, family trauma. There you go, Aquarius. And that would explain the UFO interest too. So probably astrology as well. So it's been hard for her. Pluto is really a big player in these charts. So tomorrow I'm going to look at her transit chart. I'm going to look at some of the really tough times that she had and what she could have done instead of just really try really, really hard with these guys if there was some kind of a plan B. And I'm going to look at her solar return charts for when she found out, the secrets of these men and what that looks like in a solar return. So I hope you can join me, and you'll have to be a member. So check the member section tomorrow, and it'll tell you the time I'm going to be coming on. So thanks so much, guys, for joining me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.